TerraVision X. Think outside the box.
What is time? I mean, really, what is it? We feel it passing, we're always trying to manage it, we never seem to have enough of it, but what is it fundamentally? Well, today we're going to try and unpack that just a little by looking at some of the many, many clocks of the cosmos. So let's start with the basics. The simplest way to think about time is by just looking at the world around us. At its very core, measuring time is all about observing change. Take a tree, for instance. Every single year, it adds a new ring. When we count those rings, we're not just counting years, we're literally counting cycles of change. And scientists do the exact same thing, just on a much, much smaller scale. They can look at a rock and measure how much of one element, say potassium, has decayed into another, like argon. And because that change happens at a super steady, predictable rate, it's like a tiny atomic clock ticking away for millions of years. It lets us read a rock's entire ancient history. And this idea is as old as, time itself. Our oldest clocks, whether you're talking about a sundial that tracks a moving shadow or an ancient water clock, they all work on this exact same principle. They measure a consistent, observable change. It could be the Earth spinning on its axis, or just gravity pulling tiny grains of sand from one bulb to another. So you've got a living tree, a decaying atom, a simple hourglass. What's the common thread here? What's the one thing that ties all of these different methods together? What are we really measuring? And here it is. This is the key. Time is a measurement of change. That's it. Without change, the whole concept of age or how long something takes just falls apart. Every single clock we have, whether it's natural or man-made, is really just a change detector. Okay, but if that's true, it opens up a really wild question. If time is all about measuring change, what would time even mean to something or someone that was completely changeless? And this is where we dive into theology for a moment. The sources we're looking at today point to Islamic theology, which has a fascinating take on this. It describes God as existing outside of time, and the reason is precisely because he is changeless. Think about it. If you create time, you're not bound by it. For a being that doesn't change, there's no past, present, or future. It all just is. And what's really interesting is how this idea shows up in the language of the Quran itself. You'll find events that, for us, are way off in the future, like the Day of Judgment, are often described in the past tense. Why? Well, from a timeless perspective, where everything's already known, it's as if those events have, in a sense, already happened. So that's one mind-bending idea. But hang on, because it gets even weirder. Even for beings who are subject to time, the source material suggests it doesn't tick at the same rate for everyone. It's not one big universal clock for the whole cosmos. And just look at the scale of this. This is where it gets absolutely staggering. According to verses in the Quran, our day is 24 hours. Simple enough. But for an angel who's managing affairs in the cosmos, one of their days is equal to 1,000 of our years. And an archangel? Get this. One of their days is 50,000 of our years. It's like they're operating in completely different streams of time. And this whole idea of relative time isn't just for other beings. It apparently applies to us, too. The source mentions that on the day of resurrection, our entire lifetimes, plus however long we spend in the grave, all of it is going to feel like it was just a single hour. The perception of time will radically shift. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This idea of different time systems sounds pretty out there, maybe purely theological. But what is so cool is how it unexpectedly connects with one of the biggest scientific breakthroughs ever. Right, so Albert Einstein and his theory of relativity just completely blew up the old idea of a single universal clock ticking the same for everyone. He proved that time is not constant. It's relative. The faster you move through space, the slower time passes for you. Every single object in the universe, from you to a distant galaxy, is experiencing its own unique flow of time. And boom, there's the connection. Relativity gives us a scientific way to think about this theological concept that actually makes a weird kind of sense. If you imagine angels as beings that can move at incredible, near-light speeds, then physics itself says they would experience time completely differently from us. All of a sudden, the idea of their day being 50,000 of our years doesn't sound so impossible after all. So we've talked about cosmic clocks and theological time, but let's bring all this right back down to Earth. In fact, let's bring it right inside our own heads, because every single one of us experiences a version of relative time every single day. You know, philosophers love to talk about these two different kinds of time. First, there's outer time. That's the clock on the wall, right? It's measured in seconds and hours, and it's dictated by the reliable old spin of the Earth. But then there's inner time, and that's your personal subjective experience of time. And we all know that clock plays by a totally different set of rules. I mean, just think about it. We've all been there. You can have a dream that lasts maybe 30 seconds in outer time, but inside the dream, you live out an entire decade. Or you're taking a tough exam and a whole hour vanishes in what feels like 5 minutes. Fun moments fly by, boring moments drag on. And in states of deep focus, like meditation or prayer, people often say they lose all sense of time completely. Our inner clock is constantly warping, speeding up and slowing down based entirely on what's going on in our minds. So we have all of these different lenses to look through. We've got physics, theology, our own psychology. We use them all to try and make sense of time. But even with all of that, it's still one of the biggest mysteries out there. And I think the source material for today puts it perfectly. Even after all this, time is one of the most complicated issues you can tackle. The truth is, nobody really knows what it is. It might just be the greatest mystery of them all. You know, our understanding of time is kind of like a kid just starting to figure out the world. We've gotten really good at our little slice of it. The clock on the wall, our daily schedules, we've mastered that. But the moment we look out into the vastness of space, or inward to the nature of our own minds, or upward to the divine, we realize we are just at the very beginning of understanding this giant puzzle. So yeah, time isn't just the tick-tock of a clock. It's relative, it's subjective, and it is deeply, profoundly mysterious. Which really just leaves one last question for you to think about. What time are you living in right now?